They come and they go, Hobbs. They come and they go. Live from the RamCave, I'm Joe Tarosian, and this is RamView, the February 3rd, 2025 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word. KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues? Get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. All right, come down to it. All kinds of stuff going on in terms of conversation. And then just a little bit before, as I prepped the show, I was kissing my family goodnight because I'm not going to be talking to them for a while they're having dinner. The story of Cooper Kupp broke, and I know everyone's asking about that. I got a note from Mr. Burns. I'm seeing you guys are talking about it there. Yeah, you know what can you say? I was still of the positive side that the Rams are going to end up keeping Cooper Kupp because, one, you weren't going to cut him because it's too much dead money. And then I just couldn't see what team is going to want him. Who's going to take that contract? And if the Rams are giving up on Cooper Kupp, one of their names, one of their legends, if they're ready to say CoopBye to this guy, what is he lacking? Because it seems like the Rams, a Super Bowl contender, who are not necessarily under the gun cap-wise, why are they ready to move off this guy? So why would I trade for him, right? Why would I make a move for him? It just doesn't – I just can't imagine it. Now, if somebody wants to take him and somebody wants to provide some cap relief, that would be great. If they want to take all of his contract, that would be great. I understand it. It's just how the game goes, right? We all know we're going to say bye to our favorite players. I've shared this before. My first season as a Ram fan was 1972. Everything about that before me was in the history books. Everything was in Roman Gabriel's book that I read. Everything about that was in the prologues and the magazines that my brother would buy, the old ones he would buy that gave us a history of the game. We would see depth charts from 1963. I remember I learned all this, but that's where Roman Gabriel's history was. In 72, he was a broken down quarterback, so I didn't have any real affection for him when he got traded and loved it the way the Rams started that 73 season. It's like, Roman who? Oh, he's the guy that plays for the Eagles, and we got Harold Jackson because of him. But for a lot of folks, they stopped being Ram fans after Roman Gabriel left. I know a lot of ladies stopped being Ram fans after Roman Gabriel left, after the Rams dropped the blue and white and those Roman Gabriel years. And it was like, it was a big deal. People still talk about it quite a bit, how they felt, but we've seen Roman Gabriel go. I was a big Lawrence McCutcheon fan. I was a big Wendell Tyler fan. I was more upset when those guys went than Eric Dickerson. There's just these things happen. I didn't want to see James Laurinaitis go, right? We know these things happen. We didn't want to see Robert Woods go, but, I give credit to the Rams, where it doesn't seem like there's a way. I had a note in here in my thing here where the Rams, if anyone can find cap space when there's no cap space, the Rams always find cap space. And if the Rams could find a way to move an aging receiver who is claiming he's healthy, and we got that production out of him down the stretch, and they could find a way to move him and get somebody to take on his contract, then, more power to the Rams. It's hard, it's brutal, but it is the way it is. My thing is, hey, put him together with the number 1 draft pick, send him to the Browns for Myles Garrett. There you go. Browns want a piece. Browns want a culture change guy. Take Cooper Kupp, right? Take Cooper Kupp and a number 1, and you can give us Myles Garrett. But, anxious to see what you guys are thinking. Bill, Cooper Kupp catch against Tampa Bay was my greatest memory. The for the love of the game, because he had the touchdown early in that game. Then there was the for the love game. Micah Gutierrez, Coop, Manuel Vasquez, don't want Kupp to leave, but I get it. Yeah, it's the game, right? It's just what it is. It's brutal. Tim Burns, only 6 picks this draft, third lowest we have to maximize or trade back and get more picks. Yeah, you got a fifth, 3 sixes. I think we got 7 picks, Mr. Burns, because we got a first, 2 thirds, a fifth, and 3 sixes. That's what I think it is. Rams have always known when to move from players. Warner's the exception. Yeah, I agree. They know when to move off. This group does, and they're not doing it because they don't want to pay money. They're not Georgia Frontier cheap. They are salary cap cheap right now. That's what they have to deal with. If it wasn't about a salary cap, Kupp would probably finish out his days here. But we know with the salary cap, that's not how it works. And so, yeah, pretty brutal. Let's see. USA expert Roman Gabriel played John Wayne's adopted son. Enough said. Okay. Yeah, Blue Boy, right? There you go. Had a little problem with that movie, The Undefeated, because he hooks up with the Confederate colonel or general's daughter, and the Confederate general doesn't have a problem with it at the end. That seemed a little bit of a reach, but the Undefeated had a great score. Hugo Montenegro. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, you got me digressing, USA expat. Tim Birds, we have Pupuka and Luca on my teams. Glad to see Street Clothes AD has been showing the door. My only problem, okay, you move Kupp out the door, all right? Now you're going to have to draft somebody or sign somebody. I love Puka Nacua. Obviously, the heir apparent. If you could figure an heir apparent to what Cooper Kupp was from 2018 through 2022, maybe, it's Puka Nacua, right? But Nacua plays such a physical brand of football. Do you really envisioning him playing another 5 years? I see him getting banged up really bad because of the style he plays. So that receiver room becomes pretty empty there without Kupp. So they're going to have to think of something to do there. I'll talk about the AD trade there in a minute, Mr. Burns. Manny Vasquez, Kupp said he didn't agree with it, so I wonder if he turned down a pay cut to stay. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. I would think if he wanted to stay, he would work the pay cut, or maybe the Rams are just ready to move on and didn't offer the pay cut. It is what it is, and I think the temptation here will be to make McSnead and Kroenke the villains. And I don't think a player should give up money because their career is very short and stuff. He's 32. He's not getting another contract, and he'll make money. He's made money now that'll set up his family for beyond his days. So a player shouldn't have to take a cut, but also. There's 53 on the active roster, another 16 to 17 on the practice squad, depending on if you got a European on there. So you got 70 guys, 69 guys you got to think about beyond the one. And so I really don't want to entertain notions that McVay, McSnead, Kroenke are villains in this. Everyone's got to pursue their own interests. And I guess, he didn't want a pay cut. Mikey Gutierrez, the list of Rams players who regressed after leaving LA in the last few seasons is long. I trust the front office with this decision. Yeah, Mike, I think that's a good call, right? We got the best years out of Robert Woods. We love Robert Woods. Robert Woods was one of the most complete football players I'd ever seen up close watching the Rams every week. They move on. Jalen Ramsey is still good, but we've won 20 games in the last 2 years without him, right? We've been to the playoffs twice without him. We've won a division title without him. We were 13 yards and a point after away from the NFC Championship game and maybe a trip to the Super Bowl without Jalen Ramsey. So the front office does know when to make these decisions. Bill, living in Philadelphia, I love the Gabriel trade. And you know what? 73 and a little bit in 75, he gave you a few moments there. He came in, and give credit to Mike McCormick there in 73. I think you guys only went 5-8-1, but I followed the Eagles that season because of Harold Carmichael, Charlie Young. You had Tom Sullivan at running back, and you were just in a tough division there because you had the Redskins coming off a Super Bowl. You had the Cowboys were the Cowboys in that era. You probably could have done a little bit better on offensive line and everything besides Jerry Sizemore, maybe. I think he was a rookie that year. But I remember that Eagles team, and they were lighting it up, and they just didn't have enough to get over the top there. Let's see. Mikey Gutierrez, very likely we only get a day 3 pick for Coop. Whoever gets him has to pay him something like 20 mil. That's what I'm curious about. The Rams I'll let Steve Ramirez, who I think just clicked in. Well, what's the procedure? Can the Rams take on? Do the Rams have to assume some of that salary against, or does it just all go to the other team? I don't see anything more than a day 3 pick. And also, I'm just thinking, just to get them to take his contract, you might have to give them a 6th round pick. Like, here, take Cooper and a 6th round pick, and so we don't have to have a salary cap issue. And then the Rams can trade back from the 26th spot and accrue more picks in the top 100. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but that's the thing. That's the hang-up. It's that salary cap number. Steve Ramirez, I can't see anyone giving the Rams lower than a 7th. And yeah, the news is out. Everyone knows the Rams want to get rid of him. That was the whole, and then they're trying to do the right thing, which you got to give credit to the Rams. I mean, where do you want to go? Where do you think you have a chance? Who's interested? And the Rams will deal you there. And if they get anything, it's a 7th round pick. Tim Burns, but it's the salary cap. We all know that. Tim Burns, no one is paying Cup 29 rocks. So how does McVay get a trade done? Again, exactly what we were talking about there, Mr. Burns. You're right. How do we get it done? I'm in the minority, but I would not pay Kyron big bucks. Too many better backs in this draft. Ooh, I'm going to talk about running backs today, USA expat. And I don't know if I want to give Kyron Williams money now. I know that's the thing. The Rams have talked about it. But yeah, I was a little hesitant too on giving him too much money now. But I don't know how you replace him, but I got a couple things I wanted to talk about later in the show. Tim Burns, tight end coach Kaylee is gone. Sick of being poached. Yeah, but he was coaching that tight end room. What did Colby Parkinson do? There you go. We should get a compensatory pick if a guy's taken off the roster there becomes a coach, an OC. Bill, Whittington would have benefited from another year with Cooper Kupp. I agree, but I also think he's probably going to benefit too by not having Kupp there, right? Also, that's the other one that's kind of interesting. Whittington and Xavier Smith, right? Xavier Smith going from punt guy to maybe a little more incorporation into the offense. That'll be something to keep an eye on. Manny Vasquez, it'd be nice if we can get at least a 4th for Kupp to bridge the gap from 3rd to 5th round. But I think the only way that happens is if the Rams pick up some of his salary. Yeah, honestly, I think even with a 7th round pick, the Rams are still going to have to pick up some of the salary. That's the way it feels to me. But that's where we're at. Now, here's the thing that, I was going to lead with was we all saw the Myles Garrett talk. Myles Garrett, we woke up to Myles Garrett wanting out of Cleveland. Absolutely. The guy's been there, 8 years? He's pushing 30. He just turned 29. He's got all of his personal individual accolades. And now you're going to ask him again to, okay, man, we're going to rebuild and we're going to do all this. Just stick with us. And then what happens to him, right? What happens to him when maybe they finally get things right? Then he's 32, 33. And it's like, okay, yeah, dude, thanks for your career. Who wouldn't love to have Myles Garrett, right? You line him up on the Rams defense, and I'm not saying the Rams are going to make a move for him. I'm not even saying I want him. But if you're talking Myles Garrett on this Rams defense, then you're talking a defense that could rival the 2000 Ravens or the 85 Bears. Everyone forgets that 85 Bears secondary wasn't great. It was pretty pedestrian at the corners, right? And that was that front 7 that made it dangerous. Garrett's just turned 29. Next year, he's making, or in 2025, this coming season, he's making 19.7. In 2026, he's making 20.3. Sounds crazy, but you might have to pay those kind of numbers to Alaric Jackson. So that's not bad dough to have to pay. Could the Rams make that work? I've come to believe that the Rams can make anything work regarding the salary cap if they want to, right? Even Cooper Kupp. But it's not just the salary cap, right? I mean, the salary cap is the motivation, but they're willing to give up Cooper Kupp because they don't think so, right? They don't think he's got much left. So regardless of the Kupp situation, the Rams need another receiver. And what are you willing to give up to say, maybe make a move for Myles Garrett? The team has to sign Alaric Jackson, and I'm for signing Alaric rather than drafting a left tackle at number 26. The Rams are still going to need a toilet clogger. And you have to believe or hope that Emmanuel Forbes will develop and Darian Kendrick can come back from an injury. And does Ahkello Witherspoon have a dozen games left in him? So these are the things you got to think about if you're going to make a move. Let's ask them if we'll give you Kupp and a number one. Give us Myles Garrett, and we'll keep some of Kupp's salary. How about that? Right? Everyone was circulating today Diana Rossini's tweet. She's the NFL writer. She says everyone's going to have to come down from the make-believe world thinking that the Browns are going to ask or get 3 number 1 picks for Myles Garrett. You're not going to get 3 number 1 picks for Myles Garrett, right? You're just not. The Browns would probably give up 3 number 1 picks for Myles Garrett because they're the Browns and they do those things. But Diana Rossini was suggesting a number 1 plus something else, a number 1 and a number 2, so a first and second round pick, or a first and 2/3, which is kind of ironic. What do the Rams have at the top of the draft this year? A first and 2/3. Or you could just say, hey, here's the first round pick, here's Kupp. Oh, and one of our 3s. And then you give us Myles Garrett, and we have one of the most elite defenses in the last 25 years. There you go. How does that grab you guys? I can live with that one. All right, let's keep looking here. Let's see. Manny Vasquez. It'd be nice if we can get at least a 4th. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we got that. I thought I had another question come in. My bad. There it is. Steve Ramirez. Rams could push the money down the road to get Garrett until, say, the window of Stafford's retirement. That'll be interesting, And again, my feeling is with Garrett, they were talking about Myles Garrett, that he's going to probably want a contract extension. Well, isn't Garrett's motivation to get out of Cleveland so he can play for a winner? And if you go to a winner, you're going to sabotage their salary cap thing by demanding an extension right away. He's got 2 years left. Play a year, maybe win a Super Bowl or go to a Super Bowl, or I don't know, go to a conference title game, and then maybe you can have a conversation about your future contract. But if I'm Myles Garrett and I put it that I want out, and I'm not going to ask for anything but just wanting out, I think that is benefit to Myles Garrett. So a lot of interesting stuff. Rams are going to look kind of different next year. And that doesn't mean they're going to get Myles Garrett. It's just fun to speculate. Keep an eye on the Lions. I think the Lions would really want him. I think the Packers would want him. He's not going. I saw some crazy suggestions about Myles Garrett going to the Ravens. Are you kidding me? Like they're going to trade Myles Garrett within the division? No, Myles Garrett will end up in the NFC most likely. And so they're not going to want to see him again. All right, let's keep pressing on here. I'll look at a couple more questions. Mikey Gutierrez, big question that Snead and company will be debating. Do we get another wide receiver in the draft or a free agent? And Manuel Gutierrez says, would you trade Young and Kupp and a 3rd pick for Garrett? I wouldn't trade Byron Young. I just wouldn't. I want my youth, and I want that security of another couple years with him. We got 2 more years locked up with him, and he's a young player. No, and I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. Garrett's 29. I don't want to give up Byron Young, but that's an interesting proposition there. In regards to what Micah said, big question: will the Rams, do we get another wide receiver? Again, if Kupp goes and the Rams get some salary cap relief, there's a lot of stuff that's on the table there. A whole lot of stuff in terms of what the Rams can do. Because there are receivers out there, it's just a question, do you trade for a receiver, draft a receiver, or sign a free agent receiver? And Rams free agent track record hasn't been great lately, right? So there we go. Let's keep rolling through here. A lot of talk. Nick Caley, the tight end coach, is now with the Houston Texans. He's their OC. Last time I remember a Rams tight end coach immediately becoming an OC was Rob Boris. Remember that awful run under Jeff Fisher? I don't know. Hate to see him go. You hate to see anybody go because if they're on McVay's staff, they're quality. But that's just kind of where they're at. A lot of talk, speaking of tight ends, about Colby Parkinson. And I wanted to bring this up at the last show, and I hadn't done enough homework. But, people are talking about putting Colby Parkinson in the street. Next year in 2025, he's a 9.8 rock cap hit, okay? Which, okay, that's pretty decent money there. Put him in the street, right? But he's a 6.6 dead rock cap hit, right? And that's a lot of dough. It drops to 2 rocks dead in 2026. But for this coming year, for that position, do you want to be 6.6 dead for a player? I just wouldn't do it. That's a lot to eat. We all wanted more, right? But the Rams did sign him for a reason, and I don't like the way he went down. He didn't go down. He went down easy. There wasn't a lot of physicalness to his game. I thought he was a little soft, and I would think we were expecting something a little bit more. In fact, he seemed less physical than Davis Allen. If you remember when Davis Allen came in, the thing was it wasn't about his receiving. It was about could he be blocking. And down the stretch, we saw Davis Allen getting more reps. And the word is also, again, we know the tight end position is really hard to play for Sean McVay. So I wouldn't be surprised if Colby Parkinson gets another shot. 6.6 rocks is a lot to eat. And I don't think the Rams are ready to do that. Let's see. Let's keep moving on here. I see your guys keep an eye on questions there. Running backs. USA Expat brought this up about not giving Kyren Williams his extension just yet. So I looked at the Rams running back room, and we all know who it was. Kyren Williams, Blake Corum, Ronnie Rivers, Cody Schrader. Kyren Williams is going to be 25, and he's 5'9", 194. Blake Corum is 5'8", 213. Cody Schrader had a long run in college because of the extra year, COVID and everything. He's going to be 26 this year. He's 5'9", 214. And Ronnie Rivers, who's, I think, again, a free agent, he's 26. He just turned 26. He's 5'8", 195. So basically, Kyren is one of the giants in the room. I'm kind of curious about Cody Schrader. The 49ers released him, but remember how full that 49er running back room was, right? Elijah Mitchell, the McCaffrey, McCaffrey's there. The kid Garendo is there. They had a lot of guys in their running back room, so there was probably no room for Schrader. So they cut him. Rams signed him, but the Rams just didn't dress him this year. He wasn't on the practice squad, so they just didn't dress him out till about week 18. And then in the playoffs, I think he's returning kicks. And so I think the Rams like him, and they didn't want him to pass through waivers to put him on the practice squad. So I think that they kept him around because they kind of like him. And I wouldn't be surprised if Schrader stays and Ronnie Rivers goes. That's an interesting one there. I think Ronnie Rivers at this point, he just turned 26. Maybe he wants a shot someplace else because he's not going to get his shot in LA. And I like Ronnie Rivers, but just thinking of where he's at in his career. Now, I ran a mock draft simulation before this afternoon. Now, when I ran the simulation, it wasn't me drafting. I just automated it. It wasn't me running anything. It was just an automated mock draft. And it's happened a couple times. The kid from North Carolina keeps popping up in these mock drafts for the Rams. Omarion Hampton. He's a halfback. He's about 6'1", 220. You can see his film on YouTube. It's really good. He looks like a Ram running back, right? I mean, in the sense that he's bigger, but he runs in that gap. He picks his holes. He's quick. He's north-south. He can catch the ball. The only thing that he's got 4.4 speed. The only thing he's lacking is experience in pass protection. And so could the Rams, and he was projected going to the Rams at 26, but if you read some scouting reports on him, he could go back further in the draft and maybe into the second round. And so again, that's something to think about for the Rams draft is, would you add another running back at some point? And would you trade back to maybe accumulate another third round pick or a second round pick? Maybe move back for, and have 2 second rounds surrounders or a second and a third moving out of the first round. Just something to think about going forward there. All right. I'm Joe Terosian, a sports writer for 21 years, and now I do RamView thanks to you guys and Kistler Law. Kistler Law. They have been fighting for you since '92, and they help us out quite a bit as our sponsor, and I know them firsthand. I also write books. My books are on Amazon, and you can check them out there. I've written 3 football novels, one about the Rams, Game Day in the RamCave. It came out this fall. It's done very well. You can check that out. It's a fictional game between the Rams and Packers about a fictional game. It is a game, friends watching a game. So you might want to check that out. That supports us. And we don't have a paywall. We don't have a Patreon account. This keeps me going because I have a day job. I pastor a small church in Temple in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene. And we're on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual as well as burbankfaithvirtual.com, Burbank Faith Virtual, all across social media. All right. So around the NFL and other places, starting in other places, Anthony Davis sent from the Lakers to the Dallas Mavericks for Luka Doncic. The Lakers got a star who's only 25. I also find it hard to believe LeBron didn't know about this. I'm surprised the Mavericks gave him up so cheaply. The hopeful part here, if you're an old school Laker fan, is maybe they didn't tell LeBron about the deal. If I'm still having a hard time LeBron didn't know about the deal, but maybe if he didn't know, it's because the franchise decides it wants to take control back from LeBron. Maybe, I don't know. Because a star of 25 is the guy you're going to pander to, as opposed to the guy that's 39 going on 40 or is already 40. So whose keister are you going to kiss? And yeah, so maybe we've seen, and maybe they move LeBron. But right now, they're not going anywhere this year. They got no rim protector. Dallas has a small window open. If Kyrie Irving stays healthy, they got some other guys around, and if Anthony Davis stays healthy, they can make a little bit of noise. Lakers don't have any bigs. They're like Golden State without Draymond Green, right? They don't have any real bigs. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. The one thing I thought was interesting, I heard it in a few places in the dark sports web, not the dark web, the dark sports web, was someone, because of ownership of Dallas right now, it's no longer Mark Cuban, but with the gentleman that owns it, the group that owns the Mavericks, they said, be leery of the Mavericks at some point relocating to Vegas, because they said the NBA is coming to Vegas. The owner of the Mavericks is from Vegas. Something they said to keep an eye on. All right, keep on moving here. I missed it. Chip Kelly signing with the Raiders as their OC. I thought that was really interesting. I also thought in one of the mock drafts that I saw today, which I'll mention here in a minute, Lance Zierlein, who's a pretty heavy-duty draft guru guy, he had Shedeur Sanders falling to number 6 in the draft. Cam Ward going first to Tennessee, but Shedeur falling all the way to number 6 to guess who? The Raiders. You think Chip Kelly would like to start his tenure there as an OC with the Raiders with Shedeur Sanders? You think Pete Carroll would love to have Shedeur Sanders? That one could be pretty interesting. All right, let's see if we had any other questions come in. Manny Vasquez, I thought Parkinson was going to be better considering Shane Ralston was the OC in Seattle and he came from McVay's staff. I think we all thought a little more out of Parkinson, right? I think we all thought we were going to get just that little more, but boy, he went down with one hit. He wasn't physical. I think we were expecting to be better in the blocking game. Maybe he was just lost. He only caught 30 passes, and I think we expected more. But again, from everything you've been told, I never played tight end. I don't know much about the position other than a tight end could be a quarterback's best friend. But they say under McVay, tight end's a real hard spot to play. Higbee wasn't even drafted by McVay. Higbee came from the Hilltoppers, Western Kentucky in 2016. 2017, the first pick that McVay had was Gerald Everett. He's gone. Bryson Hopkins gone. And so it's been hard to find another tight end, and Higbee just keeps surviving. I thought it was funny that someone was surprised, and we brought it up a couple of years ago. We knew this, that he's the most prolific tight end in Rams history, which tells you about Rams histories with tight ends, right? So something to think about there. Steve Ramirez, I'm not trusting the PFF mock draft simulator. When I run it, it still has Jackson Dart in the 4th and the 5th round, where other media sites have him going 2nd, 3rd, and worst 2nd and at worst 3rd round. That's interesting you say that. Yeah. I just ran that just without touching anything. And I did see Jackson Dart going 153 overall. I think the algorithm on that board is a little slower to recognize because, we knew, everyone knew Jackson Dart was going to climb. Everyone knew Jackson Dart's going to climb. There's always going to be that hot guy that comes out of nowhere. When everyone was talking Matt Leinart and Vince Young, it was Jay, the guy from Vanderbilt. I forget his name's escaping me right now, but it was the kid from Vanderbilt, went to the Broncos, the Bears. I didn't even have him on my list here. This is his name, Jay, the quarterback, number 6, Jay Cutler. And he came out of nowhere. And I remember Merrill Hodge on ESPN back in the day saying, Jay Cutler's going to be the best quarterback of all 3 of these guys. And sure enough, he was. But yeah, I think some of those things, Pro Draft Football Network's pretty good. There's all kinds of them. You can find them and stuff. But yeah, we're in that season right now, right? We're in that season. Tim Burns, love getting Luka, but the trophy goes through Jokic. And so the season is done. No 4 or 5 is an issue because LBG isn't guarding Jokic. I think Bus put Luka in front on the new team poster. Yeah, I mean, the future is Luka. It's Doncic, right? That's the future. That's the future right there. And it might be interesting because he is kind of fun to watch. Manny Vasquez, I like Luka's game, but he averages 60 games a year for a 25-year-old. That's a little concerning. I was told he played 70 games last year, but he does like to have a beer in the locker room. Micah Gutierrez, a receiver that's been floating around on Rams Twitter this week, Jack Beck out of TCU, great route runner. Well, Micah Gutierrez, were you with us a week ago when we shared Mr. Burns? Mr. Burns did a whole breakdown over a week ago on Jack Beck. I think it was like 10 days ago. Yeah, if you go to midvalleysports.com, look at Ram Notes, not the most recent one, the one before that, he did a breakdown on Jack Beck. Yeah, good blocker, good route runner, good hands. Yeah, good call there, Micah Gutierrez. See, you and Tim Burns are thinking the same way. That's pretty cool. All right, let's see what else we got here. Working our way through. We talked about the mock draft. Okay, so we've done a CBS Sports, a Pro Football Network, Sports Illustrated, Bucky Brooks, NFL.com. And what we're seeing a lot of is a lot of tackles going to the Rams and some corners going to the Rams. These are offensive tackles. Josh Simmons, Ohio State, Donovan Jackson, Ohio State. Lance Zierlein today posted a mock draft that has Josh Connerly going to the Rams. We did a mock draft back on the 22nd of January that had Josh Connerly. So there's a lot of tackle talk there for the Rams. One that I thought is interesting, speaking of tackles, that's really climbing the boards. January 15th, we did a mock draft, and Armand Membo, a right tackle, Missouri, 6'3", 314, full-time starter the last 2 years, exclusively a right tackle, though. He fell to the Rams at number 26. And it was curious that now he's popping in the top 12 of a lot of mock drafts. So, again, something to just kind of keep an eye on. But in all these mock drafts, I have yet to see them projecting the Rams taking a wide receiver at number 26. It just seems kind of weird, right? And we're not just talking about the automated ones who just take the next guy in the queue, but we're talking about, Bucky Brooks, Eric Idholm, Lance Zierlein, Sports Illustrated, Pro Football Network, heck, even, Mel Kiper had the Rams taking Josh Simmons. So it's interesting that no one is projecting the Rams to take a wide receiver. I got to imagine if Kupp gets moved anytime soon, that's got to change, right? That's got to change. That's an interesting thing to have breakdown. All right, let's see. Let's keep on working our way through here. Okay, good. We're cool. All right, we caught up with all the questions. I wanted to make sure. All right, so I ran that odd draft simulator there without me picking anybody, and they had the Omarion Hampton, halfback, North Carolina. I do like 6'1", 220. It's a heck of a film. The only thing is that for a running back, you don't get on the field unless you can block, and that's his one limitation. He catches the ball, he does everything else, and he's got decent speed. He looks like a bigger version of Kyron Williams. Then they had the Rams taking two, because the Rams have the 90th pick and the 100th pick in the third round, and had them taking cornerbacks back-to-back, Mello Dotson and Noel Williams, and then Mitchell Evans, the tight end from Notre Dame, at 126. And so, yeah, some interesting stuff there. Things to consider. Rams salary cap is at 38.6. Let's work our way through. Let me do this date in Rams history before we do Super Bowl talk. Let's see what we got here. Yes, we do. All right.
It was a stone groove, my man.
All right. On this day in Rams history, Super Bowl 34, Rams lose to the Patriots 20-17 in New Orleans. I thought on the pick six, was it a pick six that I'm so angry at that game. And it's not about the Spygate years later, but I was watching that game and I was watching it with riffraff. That was the hard part. Love my church people, but my church had a Super Bowl party, and I'm loath to go to Super Bowl parties, especially if my team is playing in the Super Bowl. And you're in there with people who just want to watch the commercials and no one cares, and you're doing a slow burn and you're about to lose your mind. And I thought there was some leading with the head there in the interception that was it Otis Smith that got the pick on Warner. I thought there was some leading with the head on that one. I still contend there were a couple seconds left when Vinatieri's kick went through the uprights. There should have been a kickoff on that. That was just really frustrating. That game was so frustrating because what it reminds me of a little bit is it was 17-3 and the Rams rallied and they came back and it looked like the tide had completely turned and we were going to overtime. So that was so exciting. And then of course Brady became Tom Brady, and it reminded me of the Eagle game. When I think about that Eagle game, I thought, okay, Puka makes the catch. We're at the 13. We're going to score, and we're going to go up by a point because Cardi's going to make the point after. And it was just such a letdown. Sorry to see that happen to the greatest show on turf, to have it in there. Who knows? Maybe if they get that second Super Bowl, the dynasty there is extended, and maybe they never come back to LA. I don't know. But that one was frustrating. That one was really frustrating. And I just remember where I was when I watched it, and it was brutal. We're not on the air tomorrow, but tomorrow we want to remember the late Ron Jesse, who passed away a number of years ago. Tomorrow he would be, He would be 52. He would be 77 years old tomorrow if he was still with us. Ron Jesse out of Kansas, one of my favorite players with the Rams, wore number 81. And then in 1977, a guy named James Hall was born. He was a defensive end, played for Michigan, and he's very unremarkable with the Rams. He played 12 years in the NFL. He was an undrafted free agent out of Michigan. He won the national title with Michigan on the Lloyd Carr, Brian Griese team. And he played 7 years in Detroit and his final 5 with the Rams in St. Louis. He recorded 30 sacks for those woeful Ram teams. 2007 through 2011, right? It was all bad. It remained bad through 2016. But the sad part was about James Hall. He was a pretty good defensive end. He went 9-7 as a rookie in 2000. He spent the next 11 years with all of his teams under 500, sometimes in single-digit wins, like 2, 3, and 2, and it was brutal. But this guy had a nice NFL career. He was a nice player for the Rams, kind of complimented Chris Long on the other side. Just wanted to get his name out there because he should be remembered. You always feel bad for those guys, right? Many a desert flower is born to bloom and wasted sweetness on the desert air, right? And he's one of those guys. All right, let's see here. Steve Ramirez, Ron Jesse scored in the 76 NFC title game, no matter what the refs ruled. There you go. Ron Jesse, right? That indoor. And, you think about, Steve brought it up, so we're still talking Rams history here. You're thinking about that. Chuck Knox called an end around at the 2-yard line or the 1-yard line against the Vikings. And it's like the NFL should have just given it to him for thinking out of the box. He tried not to be Chuck Knox on that play, and he wasn't rewarded. He got ripped off. And, that was a bad day. That was a real bad day. Tim Burns, thoughts on Michigan's issues and the idea that they did violations knowing the NCAA doesn't yank national titles. You know what? I saw you post something on this or talk about this, Mr. Burns. I got to be honest with you. I don't care. I think the reason I don't care is because of the stupid, ridiculous stuff the NCAA came after Jim Harbaugh with. And I thought it was just ridiculous. And so they were out to get him. And so the NCAA picks and chooses who it wants to take down. right? And I have no respect, no feeling whatsoever for the NCAA, and I don't really care. And also, this goes back to my Dodger fans. This is really going to tick off a lot of people. You know what? Still to this day in the NFL, let me use something here. Use the book. When a coach is calling in a play, covers his mouth like this, right? Covers his mouth with his sheet because he knows somebody's watching, right? He knows somebody's watching, and so I'm sorry. Everyone's going to steal. Everyone's going to cheat, right? And people just get mad when others cheat better. That goes back to me and the Dodgers and Astros. It's like you use the same signs all year. Assume they're going to cheat. Assume somebody's going to be doing something. And I'm all in on Michigan. All in on Michigan. I think Ohio State pays a little more. They grease the palms a little bit better than Michigan does. Remember, Ohio State players sold all that paraphernalia, and then the NCAA goes and says, "Okay, now you can play in the game, but you'll be suspended the first 2 games of your senior season." And they go, "Oh yeah, we'll take that suspension," and then they go and declare for the NFL. Not an NCAA guy. Not an NCAA guy. There we go. Let's see. Manuel Vasquez, Kenneth Grant would be a great pick at 26. He's a space eater and good run defender. If not him, a CB. But defense definitely needs to be addressed first. Really? You think defense needs to be addressed first? I'm not a linebacker guy. I'm just not. I'm not going to entertain drafting a linebacker inside the top 150. But I take a corner in the top 100, maybe if he's there and you like him. But again, I can't get around why they signed Emmanuel Forbes. I can't, you're on the hook for his contract. I mean, it's not much money, but you could pay an undrafted free agent $862,000 and it's not guaranteed. You got to pay Emmanuel Forbes 4 rocks for the next 2 years, $2 million this year, $2 million next year. You picked up his rookie contract when he was waived. So my belief is the Rams feel like they got something in him. Can you coax another year like this year out of Darius Williams? You got Kobe Durant in his contract year. You got, it would be nice to see if Akilla Witherspoon has a dozen or so games left inside of him. Darian Kendrick, who they were kind of hot on before his knee injury. Can Darian Kendrick come back and contribute? I don't know. They also drafted, they kept Josh Wallace around too. So I don't know. I don't know about defense. Now, if there was some bad dude toilet clogger there, maybe, but I don't know. They need a receiver right now. They really do need a receiver. And if you sign Alaric Jackson, I don't think you have to spend your first pick on a tackle. That's where I'm at on that one right now. Dan O, good to have you, Dan O. Jordan Whittington can block and separate better than Cup. He needs snaps to gain experience. Rams should be okay. And I think that's what the Rams want, right? I think Whittington is exciting the Rams like that. If he could stay healthy, he was a 5-star when he went to Texas and he had injuries. But think about those Texas receivers. I think everyone was thinking Adonai Mitchell, and he didn't make much of a splash with the Colts this year. Now the Colts have quarterback problems. I think we were all thinking Xavier Worthy was going a little high and stuff, but the Chiefs have maximized him. And then the guy no one thought about was Jordan Whittington, and the Rams nabbed him, and the Rams got a lot of clicks. Rams got more clicks, it seems like, out of Jordan Whittington than the Colts did out of Adonai Mitchell. I'll take correction on that. But the Rams do like Jordan Whittington. But not only do you got to replace another receiver because your room's going to get thin, but you also got to replace, if you're thinking about it, someone to take on what you had hoped Tutu Atwell would do. Who's the burner? Is Xavier Smith ready to be that guy? Are the Rams ready to commit to Xavier Smith? Beyond just returning punts, because the Rams just need that burner. But I got no problem with Jordan Whittington. Manny Vasquez, I think the defense is close to being special, so addressing it first makes sense. Okay, what would you do? You want a corner or you want a run stuffer, right? I'm not arguing. I think it is special. I definitely think you need a fat body there in the middle. I'm not worried about a linebacker. And it's just a question of what the Rams are thinking about Emmanuel Forbes. That's one. I can't let that one go. Let's see. Steve Ramirez. I'm going for offense at number 26 unless you trade, say, for Garrett Wilson or sign T. Higgins. What would you rather do? Trade for Garrett Wilson or sign T. Higgins? I think I'd rather trade for Garrett Wilson. I think I would rather trade for Garrett Wilson than sign T. Higgins. Higgins missed a lot of time with some hamstring issues, right? Every time I hear about hamstrings, you get a little leery, right? And I think Garrett Wilson is waiting to have a great year. He just needs to get on a great team and stuff. And so that's what I would do. I would go number 26. If I had to trade it and there was no Myles Garrett on the table, I would go for Garrett Wilson if that can happen. I think that would be Garrett Wilson with Puka. That would be pretty special. Jordan Whittington is your third one. I don't know if you got to bring back DeMarcus. I like DeMarcus, but DeMarcus is a third receiver. He's good. He's good with the Rams. Is he special? Is he special enough to give more money to? Maybe if he made what he made this past year, but he's going to want to raise. I don't know. I do not know. Again, something to think about. All right, let's look at this real quick here. I'm not going to give a final prediction until Friday. And on Monday next week, I will be in a hotel room in Las Vegas because the Mid-Valley Sports guys that I'm kind of working with a little bit, be sure to check out midvalleysports.com. We're posting football content there. A guy named Matt Katikian is writing Autumn Winds, and he's giving Raider content. Peterson's writing Bolt Action, giving Charger content. And a lot of the content that I either use here or don't have time to use is being put in Rams notes, also on midvalleysports.com. And so I used to call them my writing staff, but now I'm kind of just going with them. So I'll be watching the Super Bowl in Vegas. And again, it's Chiefs Philly. And so I'm on the air in the hotel room on Monday. So just letting you know. All right. I got an appointment or a reservation at Gordon Ramsay's at 7. So I might be a little quick getting on and getting off on Monday talking about the Super Bowl. All right. Chiefs Philly. What do you guys like? Right now, I'm leaning Chiefs. I'm just leaning Chiefs. I think the Eagles are so lucky. They got a gift from the Rams, and the Rams should have beat them. And if the Rams had beaten them, they of course never would have played Washington. And I think honestly, Detroit was due for a bad game. They had their bad game against Washington, but I think if you lined them up again, I think Detroit would be the Detroit we saw all year. And I think Philly got a gift that Washington bounced Detroit. It is what it is. I'm not giving anything back. I wouldn't give anything back if I was an Eagle fan, but I don't think Philly's that great. I just don't. I didn't think they were that impressive against the Packers. And for all the bravado, the snow, all the Saquon talk and everything, 13 yards and a point after, and the Rams would have beaten them. 13 yards. 13 yards, and a rookie center taking his eyes off Jalen Carter and putting him over here, right? On Milton Simmons, right? Boom. I'm going to, for some reason, take my eyes off their stud DT, and I'm going to look over here to their number 2 DT, right? And 13 yards and a point after. So I'm not really impressed with the Eagles. I do think they got good corners. I think they got a good defense. But here's the problem. They become less impressive when you match them up against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Point goes to the head coach, Andy Reid, over Sirianni. Point goes to Patrick Mahomes over Jalen Hurts. Point goes to Steve Spagnuolo over Vic Fangio, right? This is just what it is. And the Chiefs have gotten better defensively, and that's a really good defensive team. I just like the Chiefs. I think it should be 30-17. That's what I'm saying right now. But we know what the Chiefs do. It's almost like the Chiefs horse around and they got someone out there putting down bets, and it's like 13-13, 13-12, 13-10 in the fourth, and then they score 3 touchdowns, right? And they end up winning. If this game is in any way close to a one-score game with less than 10 minutes to play, I'm not an advocate for betting because I don't know how to bet, but all my money, if I was a bettor, would be on the Chiefs. When I saw there was 5 minutes to play or 4 minutes to play with the Bills and Chiefs, and I saw the Chiefs with the ball, I said Chiefs are winning, right? Now I had my boss ruin the final score for me, but the Chiefs were winning. And I'm having a hard time not seeing the Chiefs. The only time the Chiefs have lost a Super Bowl in this era was when both their tackles were out against Tampa Bay. And of course, Tampa Bay had a guy named Brady. But since then, they find a way. They always find a way. So right now I'm thinking 30-17. Maybe I'll change my mind on Wednesday and I'll give you a final prediction on Friday. Okay, so let's look at some questions before we wrap this puppy up. And here we go. Let's see. Steve Ramirez, I'm going for offense at number 26. Okay, we got you there. Tim Burns, Philly 41, KC 35. Really? Really? I'd love to hear your guys' predictions out here because I want to hold you all accountable. I live in Las Vegas. You're going to have so many places to choose from to watch the Super Bowl, to have fun. Hey, Manny, actually, I'm going to South Point, and my guys make all the arrangements, and I go. I was there last year, and so we go to South Point. They got some Super Bowl package, this, that, or the other, and I don't mind it. Again, to me, and I know I'm going off on a tangent here. Of course, as a minister, I'm never in a sports book, right? And I'm not. That's not me high roading anybody. That's just not what I do. Even as a sports guy when I was younger, I just never bet. The only time I bet was when I got angry, and I still go back to, was it Super Bowl 19? Was that the Dolphins 49ers? And I was working in a supermarket. I was a kid, and a couple of night crew guys were just going off about how great Dan Marino and the Marx brothers were, and they were going to kick their butts. And I'm a Ram fan, so I've seen the 49ers. And I just said, no. I said, 49ers are going to kill them. And they started talking like I didn't know anything. And then that's what got my blood up. And I said, I didn't say blank you guys. I said, forget you guys. $20, straight up. Niners kill them. And some guy took the bet, and then one other guy says, I want a piece of that. So he took 10 more. And so I had a straight up bet. And of course, we saw that game, 38-16, I think it was, in the fog there at Palo Alto. How they ever hosted a Super Bowl there, it seems weird. And I came back to work and I collected. And the guy that runs the freezer department says, how did you know? And I said, I didn't know. I watched football. And he says, you were so sure. I would have bet the house and stuff. So I like to go to Vegas because I like to watch. I love the food in Vegas. The food is great. But I don't know how to read a sports line. I don't know how to read overs and unders. And I mean, I know what an over and under is, but who's the dog, give the points, all that kind of stuff. I just used to listen to Jimmy Greek say he was going to win. So when I get to go on a weekend off with my friends, those guys used to go golfing, and I would sit in the sports book and just watch a whole different culture and different universe. And I loved it. It was just different and stuff. So yeah, so it's the Super Bowl this time, and I get to watch it at ease. I want Philly to lose. I want the Chiefs to win. And if Philly wins and the Chiefs lose, I'm emotionally not affected. So there we go. So thanks, Manny Vasquez. That's a good place. I live like 15 minutes from there. Okay, cool. Hey, you ever been to Silverado, the steak place? That's where another place we go a lot. Got my friends to up their game. So we go to Silverado. We go to Gordon Ramsay's. A couple of those places are pretty good. Steve Ramirez, I'm thinking Chiefs. Philly's only chance is to get a big lead early. Can't go against Mahomes. Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. Tim Burns, take your Bible. It's Sin City. I actually do, Mr. Burns. I do take my Bible to Sin City. And, I'm in a culture that I don't belong in, kind of. I'm an outsider. So, because I'm a people watcher, I'm more of an observer than anything else. I end up getting a bunch of sermons by going to Vegas for 2 or 3 days. So, yeah, I promise you, I will. There you go. If you could get Cam Scatabo around 90 or 100, would you take a shot? No, I'd take him in the 4th or 5th round. Rams don't have a 4th, but I would take him later to see if he's there. I like him, but I think I'd want something a little bit more, like Omari and Hampton before I took Scatabo. I do like Scatabo. Dano, KC 28, Philly 24. There you go. See, now we're getting some good thinking here. Steve Ramirez, I will say watching a sporting event in a sports book is a great experience. Even when the issue is decided, the spread makes it still so exciting. I did that for the NCAA tournament once. Okay, so Steve, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I've only done it for football, and during the regular season, I'd gone back when I was working at the Mid, and you got all the things up there, Mandalay, and yeah, for someone who doesn't know what's going on, for me, it was an experience, and everything, and you find out whose fans are not fans, and you just hear screaming randomly erupt, I guess the NCAA tournament would be a place to try that. That would be interesting. Tim Burns, is there a Brahms in Vegas? No, you got to go to Ozark, Missouri for a Brahms there, Mr. Burns. Okay, we went over 50 minutes, guys. Sorry to say, I hope this is not Cooper Kupp's farewell. I'd like to see the Rams keep Cooper Kupp, but I don't know how that's done. But so appreciate Cooper Kupp, right? But exciting time to be a Ram fan. Kupp, number 1, and a 3rd rounder to Cleveland for Myles Garrett. There we go. There we go. Philly loses to KC. I might change my mind on Wednesday, but KC 30-17. Guys, you are awesome to hang with. Thank you so much for sticking around. Manny, Silverado, you should go there. Go to Silverado, Manny. Take care.